All right, let's get right into it. There's a video making the rounds that paints a really dramatic picture. It claims a massive war between the US and Iran isn't just a possibility, it's about to happen. It's a pretty convincing story. So today, we're going to break down exactly how it builds that argument step by step.
So the whole thing kicks off with this one big event. According to the source, the US has started moving its troops, and not just a few, but a significant number, out of major bases in places like Qatar and Bahrain. And this single move, right here, is the spark for the entire theory we're about to explore.
But wait a minute, that doesn't really make sense, does it? I mean, if you're about to go to war, wouldn't you be moving soldiers in, not out? You'd be beefing up your positions, right? And that's the central puzzle the video presents. It hooks you with this question to set up its much bigger and frankly much scarier explanation.
Okay, so the video's answer to that puzzle brings us to our first section, which it calls troop repositioning. This is where it really starts to lay out its case.
So what's going on here? Is the US retreating? The conventional wisdom might say yeah, they're pulling back. But the video argues, no, not at all. This isn't about avoiding a fight. It claims this is a strategic move to get soldiers out of the line of fire for Iran's inevitable counterattack, a huge first punch that the US supposedly knows is coming.
So why is this repositioning so important? Well, here's where the story takes a turn. The source makes a really big claim. Iran isn't just guessing where the US forces are. It alleges that China is feeding them satellite intel, pinpointing the exact locations of US troops. Essentially, it's like painting a giant bullseye on every American base in the area, making them total sitting ducks.
And all of that brings us to the next piece of the puzzle, which the source calls America's plan. Because, if moving troops was the defensive play, what the video claims is coming next, well, that's all offense.
Right, so here's the core of the argument. This isn't a withdrawal. The video claims these troops are not going home. They're being moved into position for a huge two-part attack. Phase 1, a massive campaign from the air. And Phase 2, a full-on ground invasion. So in this telling, moving the troops out of the bases was just the first move on the chessboard.
And to make this whole thing feel way more real and less like some abstract plan, the source gets super specific about the targets. It's not just about hitting military sites. It claims the plan is to go after the very top of Iran's leadership. Ayatollah Khamenei, the army chief, the president, other high-ranking officials. We're talking about a decapitation strike aimed at taking out the entire regime.
Now, at the same time all this military planning is supposedly happening, the video brings in another angle, a diplomatic one, or maybe not so diplomatic. It calls this section Trump's ultimatum, and it frames the whole conflict as the result of a negotiation that was basically set up to fail from the start.
And to set the stage for this ultimatum, the source points to this really powerful, almost Godfather-esque quote. It claims the message sent from the Trump administration to Iran was, they should give us an offer we can't refuse. Basically, a demand for a deal so one-sided that the US would have to accept it and call off the whole attack.
So what would an offer you can't refuse even look like? Well, according to the video, it comes down to two huge non-negotiable demands. Number one, Iran has to completely 100% dismantle its entire nuclear program. And number two, there has to be major political change, which the source says is basically code for ending the Ayatollah's rule. The video presents these as the only two options on the table to stop a war. Then the source adds another layer to this whole narrative, and this one's about personal motivation. It claims this isn't just some grand geopolitical strategy. It's also being driven by domestic politics. The argument is that President Trump was angry about a Supreme Court decision against his tariffs, and so he's now looking for a way to flex his muscles on the international stage.
Okay, so with that whole picture painted, the military moves, the ultimatum, the video then zooms out to look at how the rest of the world is supposedly reacting. This section is called The World on Alert, and its whole point is to show that other countries are taking this threat so seriously, they're acting like war is already a done deal. And what's the proof? Well, the video points to a list of countries that are allegedly telling their citizens to get out of Iran, and get out now. We're talking about Norway, Serbia, Germany, Poland, Belgium. By listing these nations, the source paints this picture of a global panic, a mass exodus before the fighting starts. It really ramps up the sense of urgency.
But it's not all smooth sailing, even according to this narrative. The source makes sure to point out that back in the US, there's pushback. It reports that lawmakers are scrambling to slow things down, demanding that any strike on Iran has to get approval from Congress first. So there's this internal political battle happening at the same time.
And that brings us to the final and most dramatic part of the video story, the war's outcome.
This is where the source stops explaining what it thinks is happening now and starts predicting the absolutely disastrous future it says is coming.
And it kicks off this section with a pretty shocking number, 32,000. The source claims and attributes this directly to President Trump, that he's already said 32,000 people have been killed in Iran. Now, the video doesn't present this as a fact, but more like a confession, a statement of intent that shows war is already underway in his mind.
So what would be the fallout from all this? According to the video, it would be a global catastrophe. We're talking oil prices through the roof, gold prices soaring, the entire global economy just thrown into complete chaos. And maybe most importantly, it predicts that China would jump on this instability as the perfect chance to make a play against the US dollar, trying to knock it off its pedestal as the world's reserve currency.
So there you have it. That's the narrative this video builds. It takes troop movements, adds in claims about secret intelligence, throws in a political ultimatum, and caps it all off with predictions of total economic chaos. It weaves all these threads into one very alarming story. And it leaves its viewers with this final, really heavy question. Is this the start of the most dangerous war in the last 100 years? That is the case this one video makes, and now you know exactly how it was built.